Welcome to the latest notes from the control tower, and in this episode I'll be looking at the new special pilot Albrecht Schneider and the mission marathon you will need to complete to obtain him. Hello there, and just as I thought I'd finished making videos for this week, the World of Warplanes team released new content in the form of Albrecht Schneider, a special pilot for the Tier 6 Tech Tree German Heavy, the Me-410, and you can obtain Albrecht if you complete a mission marathon. That mission marathon started yesterday, provided you activated it in your client, and it will run until the end of September. So, what does Albrecht convey to the Me-410? Well, he has a pair of special skills. The Me-410 Master, which will increase the damage output of the guns, the forward-firing guns, by 10%, and also increases the damage of the rockets, which are fairly weak, by 10%. And this skill replaces the Protection Expert skill. No great loss there. You probably aren't using that on the Me-410. But note this, if you put Albrecht in a different aircraft, this skill will not function. The other skill he has is a Boost Expert skill. That will convey a 3% speed boost, and it will improve the cooldown rate when you've overheated them of the engines by 10%, and that replaces the Eagle-Eyed skill. Well, you may be using that, but it's no great loss. And this skill will transfer if you put Albrecht in a different aircraft. That's an overview of Albrecht and also how you can obtain him. A couple of other things to note. If you haven't got the time to grind through the mission marathon, and warning, some of the mission steps are going to take several hours, you can purchase certificates in the premium shop to skip some or indeed all of the stages of that mission marathon. I also should draw your attention to the fact that this is only for Tier 4 to Tier 10 aircraft. Right, what we're going to do next is see what the effect of these skills are on a stock Me-410. What we have here is the characteristics of a stock Me-410. Those can be seen in columns C and D, and then that same Me-410 with Albrecht Schneider. Now, to some degree, this is not a realistic comparison. For a start, you will have equipment mounted on your Me-410. That will be at varying levels. You may have specialized your Me-410. And of course, if you put Albrecht in the Me-410, you will be removing a pilot that will no doubt have skills that you are losing. Nevertheless, I think it is quite useful to have a look at the effects. So what we have here is a difference column, and this lists the differences for damage output. And we can see that the cumulative DPS has gone up by 60 to 660. And we have the DPS for the various guns. And there are 3 weapons groups on the Me-410. So the small machine guns, the difference is at 3. The long range 20mm cannons, the difference is 9 per cannon, I should just point out. And on the hard hitting 30mm, which are medium distance, the difference is 18 per cannon. And that all adds up to that 660, as I say, and there's the 10% difference that you would expect. On the rockets, the damage output goes up to 7,920, again a 10% increase. And the airspeed, well, at first blush, maybe 3% doesn't seem a lot, but actually I think it is fairly significant. And that takes the cruise speed up to 338 miles an hour and the maximum boost speed up to 384 miles an hour. The key thing about the Me-410 is that it now faces Vultee XP54s a lot. So just over here, I've done a little bit of a comparison. And again, perhaps this isn't a realistic comparison. Not only will you have equipment on your Me-410 that can change the values of some of these things, but any Vultee that you're opposing will also have equipment and a pilot, and therefore it will not actually be configured as stock. But at least we can have a look and see what's happened. So we have the stock Me-410 here, and we can see the damage output figures at various ranges. So the maximum range that the Me-410 can start doing damage at is 2,362 feet, at which range in theory the XP Vultee, unless it's a bit lucky, is not going to do any damage. And then at 1,890 feet, the second weapons group for the Me-410 kicks in. Again, the Vultee, in theory, isn't doing any damage, but of course there's RNG and lucky shots, so it might actually do a little bit. And then we have at 1,877 feet, in other words, almost immediately, the Vultee is able to start doing damage with some of its weaponry, and by 1,837 feet, again, almost immediately, the Vultee is outputting all of its DPS accurately. But you can see there's a little bit of a window where the Me-410 can actually damage the Volti in a head-on attack before the Volti can damage it. So any increase in your damage output is probably going to be welcome, because what you're hoping to do is destroy that Volti, or at least severely cripple it, and then you can, at least if it's severely crippled, you can fly away from it, because you aren't going to outmaneuver it, that's for sure. So as we can see, at 1890 feet, the standard Me-410 is doing 540 DPS, and that's gone up to 594 if you put Albrecht in the aircraft. Useful. And then even at 1877 feet, you're still massively outgunning the Volti, but pretty quickly it becomes much more equal. But as I say, that's in a head-on attack, and any Volti pilot worth his salt will not let you indulge in a head-on attack. He will maneuver and he will try and get behind you. And that's where the speed comes in. The Me-410 is basically just a little bit slower stock than the Volti. It's not much, but it is slower. You've got 328 maximum cruise speed against 332 for the Volti, and 373 maximum boost speed against 382 for the Volti. Well, with Albrecht in place, the situation changes. Again, the two aircraft are fairly similar, but this time the Me-410 is actually slightly faster on both measures, so that will be a help, particularly if you've managed to cripple the Volti, perhaps hit its engine. This will allow you to get away. And if you're a large distance from the Voltis, let's say over 1900 feet, if you apply your boost, you might be able to flee. Practically speaking, with Albrecht Schneider, does the Me-410 become a Volti XP54 killer? No. You're still going to struggle with the XP54, and the presence of Albrecht Schneider is not going to change that situation, in my opinion. The other problem you'll have is that you'll be replacing a pilot in the Me-410 who may very well have things like Engine Guru 1 and Engine Guru 2, Marksman 1, Marksman 2, and other useful skills. And initially, even though these damage output figures are handy and the increase in speed is welcome, you might find yourself going backwards for a little while until you can get Albrecht Schneider trained up with those other skills. So bear that in mind. Albrecht Schneider is not going to make the Me-410 a monster, in my opinion. That said, once you have Albrecht trained up, he's going to make the Me-410 more deadly, and I expect you'll like that. Okay, I think what we need to do now is take a look at the mission marathon, which is the means by which you'll obtain Albrecht. Here we have the missions that you'll need to complete, provided you don't buy certificates to skip any of them, in order to obtain Albrecht. And mission 1 is earn 45,000 personal points in any number of battles. Well, if you average 5,000 personal points per battle, this will take you 9 battles, and if you average 10,000, it'll take you something like 4 or 5. So this is an easy grind. Destroy 12 enemy bombers in any number of battles. Well, to me that implies that you'll be flying a heavy, at the very least a high altitude fighter with good weaponry like the Bf-109E, and with a bit of luck you should do that fairly quickly. If you average 2 bombs a battle, you'll take 6 battles. Bear in mind other people will be competing for those bombers, so make sure you kill them, don't overheat your weapons, and get the last shot in. Mission 3, earn 8,000 capture points in any number of battles. This is capture points, so make sure you're doing your work in the sectors, and particularly that the sectors are unlocked when you're doing it. Otherwise you will earn no capture points, and this is going to be a bit of a pain. It's a medium to long grind. You could easily end up with battles where you only get 200 or so capture points or less, and sometimes you'll get those nice battles where you get 500, 600, 700. So it's a little bit difficult to say how long it will take. It's a fairly longish grind though. Mission 4, destroy 120 enemy aircraft. That means not ADAs while defending air sectors in any number of battles, and clearly if you're shooting down ADAs when you're defending, you're shooting down your own team. And this again is a sort of a medium to long grind. You can probably fix on perhaps getting 5 enemy aircraft when defending, and to me this implies using your favourite fighter and sitting over at least 1 or 2 sectors and knocking down the enemy aircraft. It will take a little bit of time, several hours unfortunately. Mission 5, receive the Conqueror achievement. The Conqueror achievement is 450 capture points in a battle. That's a battle, not a sortie, so if you get shot down it doesn't get reset. And that's bit of pot luck. It could be quick, you could get it in your very first battle, or it may take you several battles to do. Mission 6, and we'll scroll up a little. Deal 400,000 hit points worth of damage to ground targets in any number of battles. Okay, it's a medium to longish grind, and you'll do it more quickly if you do it in high tier bombers or ground attackers. Mission 7, earn 100,000 personal points in any number of battles. Well, this is more than double the requirements of Mission 1, so again, the same sort of logic applies. If you earn 10,000 points on average in a battle, then this will take about 10 battles. If you do 5,000, it will take about 20. Mission 8, destroy 150 air defense aircraft in any number of battles. Okay, that's a longish grind, especially if people are competing for the same kills. What would I fly for that? Well, probably a fighter, maybe a heavy to get me about to other sectors as quickly as possible. In fact, probably I would lean towards a heavy. Mission 9, destroy 5 enemy attack aircraft in a single battle. Well, you want something with a lot of damage output, and probably you want something that's pretty quick. To me, this implies a heavy, and the good news is at least it's not 8 of these enemy attack aircraft in a single battle as it was in the previous mission marathon. So again, it's a little bit potluck. This is the kind of thing you could do first time, and it may be one that holds you up for several hours. You'll just have to grit your teeth and get through it as best you can. Mission 10, the Flying Guardian badge. This is for fighters or heavies only. And you have to destroy 8 enemy aircraft when defending sectors. And defending sectors means that they must be unlocked, remember. So if you shoot anything down immediately you've captured a sector, that does not count towards this total. This again is one of those missions that you could do first time, or it may delay you for a little while. Mission 11, participate in capturing 20 sectors in any number of battles. I regard this as an easy to medium grind, and I think you'll probably be doing it in bombers or GAAs, possibly heavies. Remember, when you're capturing a sector, you must destroy at least one target within that sector, one ground target, one aerial target, otherwise you will not receive the credit for capturing the sector. Mission 12, destroy 220 sections of ground targets. Particularly if you're in high tier bombers or ground attackers, I think this is actually pretty easy grind. If you're doing it in a low tier ground attacker or bomber, it's a bit of a medium grind, but it's fairly easy to do. Mission 13, destroy 7 enemy aircraft whilst attacking sectors in a single battle. Bit of a pain, and I would tend to suggest that you want to do this in a heavy, and it does not include air defense aircraft, making it more difficult. And the reason I suggest a heavy is because I think you're going to have to get about between at least 2 sectors to do this, if not 3 within a battle. Mission 14, destroy 5 enemy fighters in a single battle. This is going to be potluck. And remember, you're probably only going to be seeing 2 heavies in your battles, if they're bots. Of course, if you're coming towards the end of the mission marathon, you may find a lot of people flying around on heavies. That will increase your opportunities, but of course also increase the likelihood that you'll get shot down yourself. I don't know how long this one will take. Again, it's one of those that you could do first time, or you could be held up on it irritatingly for quite a while. And finally, the Maguire Medal. That's 400 capture points in a single sortie with a heavy. And if you complete all those, you will earn yourself Albrecht Schneider. That's all you need to know about Albrecht Schneider and his mission marathon, and if you're grinding through it, I wish you the best of luck. Well, I hope you found that helpful, and if you did, you'll come and see my future content. But until then, this is the Noble Q, signing out.